What's up, guys? Welcome back to Tournament Tactics. It's NFL Week 6, and I've got the GPP Maniacs with me here to talk about how we're going to crush tournaments for NFL Week 6 on DraftKings and FanDuel. Introducing the crew, of course, right below me, Bobby Millions, a.k.a. BobbyWow, multi-time Millie Maker winner. We got Shark Lab himself, Burns273 in the house, multi-time top 10 Millie Maker finisher, eventual winner. And of course, Bob, aka Josiah, right here with us, tournament player extraordinaire. And we're talking NFL Week 6. We're going to talk about what sort of the basic upfront approach is for this week. We're going to get some tournament privates. We're going to talk about leverage, all of those good things. Now, yeah, there we go. Why is Bobby wearing the Jets? Well, I thought it's because after last night, there are no more Bears fans left. And just like Bobby was the last holdout. So he's over it. But also because you hate the Packers, I'm assuming?
Yeah, no, I still believe in the Bears for the record. But no, you got to root against the Packers any chance you get.
That'll do it. Yeah, it's just this is a Packers hatred, not a love for the Jets thing. Although I personally appreciate the Jets love. And Josiah, I got to talk to you. We don't normally talk fandoms on this show, but Panthers get rid of the coach. No more Matt Rule.
Hey.
Is Panther fandom excited about this? Because I didn't have a problem with Matt Rule.
Yes, no. Panthers fans hated Matt Rule.
Really?
He's been here for 4 years. It's been 4 years of torture. Since like year one, we've wanted him out of here. So no, this is gold. This is like that, almost like winning the Super Bowl, but not.
I was going to say hiring Baker was, I thought, designed to get Matt Rule fired because he gets everybody fired wherever he goes. His badness is so his badness ruins everything in his wake. He's like a plague. He shows up and just everything just starts withering. Christian McCaffrey can't run anymore. DJ Moore can't catch a pass. What happened? Oh, Baker's there. That's
good enough reason. That's all you need to know.
All right, so getting into the NFL Week 6 slate, this is my kind of slate because we have running back value, and everybody knows I love the running back value, right? I love me a backup running back. And we've got a lot of that, including late-breaking news that Cam Akers is out for the foreseeable future due to personal issues. Now, FanDuel was a bit jerky about DraftKings a bit jerky about this. I just checked and I figured that Darrell Henderson Jr. and legit, I thought he'd be like a 4,200. He's 5,100.
Mm-hmm.
FanDuel, did DraftKings know something? What did they know? And when did they know it? Because who the hell's playing Darrell Henderson Jr. for 5,100? It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. The bargain's not that great over there, but it's much better on FanDuel. So we have Darrell Henderson Jr. We've got Eno Benjamin, who is now officially the starting running back in the sexiest game of the week, in my opinion. That is the game I'm interested in, Seattle, Arizona. Then we've got Ramondre. Nowadays, somebody got to talk, but you got something to say. But nothing's out. They moved lifts just a bunch of because they forgot about Ramondre. So how fast I tried to do that.
That was impressive, honestly. Like that was pretty good.
Don't forget about Ramondre. And then that was right. That wasn't too bad. And then so we got Ramon. There's one more. I forgot. There's so many of these guys. And Kenneth Walker, aka Dynamite, who, by the way, I was excited about Kenny Walker coming out of college. No one loved the landing spot initially, but I have some inside sources about this kid and talking about his talent. And he can also catch passes. Do you know he's the leading running back pass catcher on Seattle right now? He's the leading pass catching running back. What's the fear when a backup running back comes in? It's, can they catch passes? This guy can do that. So I think that sets up the overview of the slate. this is going to be a pay down at running back slate. And I'm curious as to, and let's take a look at our chalkboard here. And then I kind of want to get your guys' opinion on this. So I wanted to sort of deliver the overview there. We've got cheap running backs on the slate. We've got 2 games that stand out above all others, right? Bills, Chiefs, and Seattle, Arizona. Of all of the games on the slate for me, and those are the only 2 that even seem game stackable. And I don't really think the Chiefs is such a good team to stack either. So it really comes down to me for that Arizona game. So with all that being said, let's take a look again at the chalkboard here, and let's take a look at the running back position. So I kind of think this is going to change. So right now we've got Ramondre as the top chalk, and then Saquon, Fournette come up before Walker, Breece Hall, and then of course some of these other guys haven't quite clicked into the ownership. Like Eno was so recent that he's not popping in here. But how do you think ownership will fall? And I'll go around. Do you think we're going to see like the Eno, Stevenson, Walker trio, and maybe even Henderson Jr., although I think he'll be the least desirable of that group. Do you think those guys will end up being the top 3 owned? Josiah?
Yeah, I think for sure. Like, you're going to see that trio up top. I think you'll see Henderson slide his way in there. I think just from like a projection standpoint, and at this point now, a matchup standpoint, the Panthers just aren't looking that good from like a defensive perspective. So I think people are going to start to trend towards Henderson, and you're really going to see that group of 4 take control, and then you'll see like the Barkleys and Fournette start to slide in.
I think it should be that way. I think we should be looking to pay down at running back this week. It opens up a premium tight end. It opens up Josh Allen as your quarterback. It opens up a premium tight end, and it opens up a lot of different things. But so that's how I'm playing it. But let's get into game environments. And Burns, I was reading the Shark Lab last week, and I really like this concept of really focusing exclusively on quarterbacks that are favored. But I do have, and again, to reiterate for anybody who's new to the show, Burns has been studying Shark Millie Maker winners and across not just the Millie Maker, but any of the big contests. And one keynote feature of the QB position is like, it's almost always a favored quarterback that wins. But I've got a little slim scenario. What if a quarterback is kind of like a plus 1.5 underdog, but I think their team's going to win? Does that swing it for you? Like, can I play Geno, basically, is what I'm asking. I just want to know about Geno.
Yeah, I mean, Geno's in play right now. In a game like this with Arizona and Seattle, I think you need to take shots at both sides of the quarterback, on both sides of the ball for the quarterbacks. So I do think he's in play.
So you are making an exception.
Yeah, I'm making an exception in 2 different
that's what I'm talking about.
Underdog locations. This one, I'm not making it for Mahomes. I'm fading Mahomes this week. So I just think the game environment for the Buffalo Kansas City game is just too tough on that side. But they are really good in Kansas City, so that's another thing you got to watch out for. So
yeah, I don't think you should make the exception for Mahomes. I see why one might make it, but I think that there might be a sharp fade in there this week on Mahomes.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier.
Yeah, it might be a guy to avoid. Let's go around the table though and talk game environments. So, Josiah, how are you looking at attacking these 2 premier game environments? We've got, of course, the Bills Chiefs game. We've got Seattle going up against Arizona, and Seattle, Arizona, by the way, statistically, these are 2 of the worst teams against the pass in the league right now. Like, it's crazy. Every game against Seattle explodes for fantasy points.
Yeah, which is definitely something that we haven't seen a lot over the last few years, which is interesting. But for me, I'm thinking about it very similar to the way you guys are. Like, as of a lot of you guys will know, I play 6 quarterbacks, and then I kind of make ways of how I'm going to get different with the stacks themselves. And so I'm going to play the Cardinals. I'm going to play Geno Smith. I'm going to play Josh Allen, and I'll also will have exposure to Patrick Mahomes. I totally understand the fade on Mahomes, but just with those being the highest total games, I want exposure to all of those spots. So that's how I'm treating it this week.
I'm just looking to get a little cute with the fade if I'm keeping it real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
BobbyWow, how are you feeling? Yeah, Kyle Marley, he likes Mahomes at 4%. We'll see if that 4% holds. But part of the reason,
it will.
And I want to get to you, BobbyWow, but part of the reason. So let me show this on screen here. Part of the reason that Mahomes might be low owned is because if you look at this trio again, and price, remember, you got to think of price groups, right? So we've got on Fan and FanDuel is the same. So don't at me for not showing FanDuel on the screen. It's exactly the same. These three quarterbacks are significantly the same price. All right. It's Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Mahomes. So we have to bet on which guy, if we're paying up, you've got to be right about which one scores the most points. It's that simple. You better be right. And I'm looking at Allen's matchup against like one of the worst defenses in the league to slow down quarterbacks. And I'm looking at Lamar against one of the and Pat Mahomes against one of the best defenses in the league. Now, forget that it's the same game. It's two different matchups, right? I like the other match. But like BobbyWow, you got to choose between these three guys. And they're going to take a finger if you're wrong.
Yeah.
I learned that Gargano went on the Wise Guy show. He's like, this whole thing. He told a story about a bettor who you got to bet the finger. You lose your finger if you're wrong. Like I was like, ooh, I don't want to bet that. He almost made me do a finger bet. I'm not doing any finger bets. But a hypothetical finger bet, BobbyWow.
It's just hard to say anyone other than Josh Allen. I mean, Contrarian in me wants to play Patty Mahomes, and I will a little bit. But Patrick Mahomes had a really nice week last week. Threw for 4 touchdowns. He would have only outscored Josh Allen in one of the 5 weeks with his score from last week. So, I mean, you really can't say anyone but Josh Allen. There's no reason to back it up.
And Lamar can do it because he runs more than Josh Allen might run in a game. I would rather take my chance in GPP. If I was forced to not choose Josh Allen, like my second choice here is definitely Lamar. Mahomes for me is third on the list because again, he's got the worst matchup. It's harder for him to get there.
Yeah.
So, and like you said, he's priced up too. So there's a lot going against them.
Yeah. No bargain. That's what I'm saying. These guys are all the same price. As we move down in the salary level, we can afford. We have leeway, but straight up, if Lamar scores 48 and Josh Allen scores 37, you will not win any sort of tournament without Lamar. Like it's that simple because they're the same price. The rest of the lineup can look the same. So I think that's one of the big questions. Just game environment wise, which one of those three are you willing to pay up for? And to me, it's very clearly Allen, and I'll put Lamar second and Mahomes. Because Mahomes is third for me, I think I'm going to. I don't know about fade. I don't like that word. I might not have very much. I'll a couple points maybe just to get silly with it. But I just think Bill's defense is really, really good, and people are sleeping on it. That's the same defense that shut down Mark Andrews 2 weeks ago. Andrews got nothing against this team. And if they do that to Kelsey, who's catching passes? Marquez Valdez-Scantling? Because that's their best guy. I mean, you're laughing, Bobby. That's their best guy.
No, it's true. No, I'm laughing because it's true.
And I my eyes just saw the offensive line for Pat Mahomes get literally manhandled by the Raiders.
Play.
The Raiders, not known as a defensive juggernaut, because the Raiders were manhandling them. Like again, that might not, past performance not indicative of future results, but that's what I saw. All right, so let's talk about.
Geek, let me ask you real quick. So, what scenario does a guy like Josh Allen fail in? What has to happen for a guy like Pat Mahomes to outscore Josh Allen? Just so we can speak it out loud.
Random game where Devin Singletary scores a couple times.
Yes, I agree. So if you are going to do it, does it not make sense to put Devin Singletary in your Patrick Mahomes lineups?
That's a BobbyWow leverage play that I love right there. Yes. Guys,
okay.
Go around, but yeah, I think that's the way to go. So if you're starting Mahomes, you might want to get some Singletary in there. Not that it's so unlikely that Singletary does that because they don't like to run the football in Buffalo. But that's the scenario. It's like what happened with Brady last week, where Fournette just went bananas, and that ruined Brady because Fournette scored 38. Okay.
And then speaking of Brady, that's the other QB option on the slate.
He's one of them. So let's get away from this game and talk about some of these other games.
Yeah, for me, like that Bucks Steelers game is not one, and also just Brady in general. He's a little bit up there in age. I don't love playing Brady, but this is just purely a matchup play. The Steelers have not been great defensively against the pass, and Brady definitely has the upside this week to attack that. So that's where I'm looking to go with some Evans, Godwin stacks in there, maybe a little bit of Gage as well.
Yeah, Steelers missing some starters. I think one of the challenges, but did I see that? I mean, that people are going to try to roster Kenny Pickett this week? Is that something that people are doing?
That is something people are doing. I'm not here for it.
What are they watching? What show are they watching? What smoke are they smoking?
Hey, Pickett's on the chalkboard.
I took the chalkboard off because I don't believe in it. I'm giving up on it. I don't believe that for a second.
Hey, that's good for us if he is that popular.
I did hear that Godwin will play. So, yeah, I don't believe it right now. So let's talk about the second game environment. That's going to be big because we talk about, obviously we want to build around Josh Allen. And I think it's pretty obvious to people that Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox, Isaiah McKenzie, and Gabriel Davis are all really good plays on this slate. Like, come on, right? I think you don't need to bring it back. My point is you don't need to bring it back with a KC player. Just play Allen, play his guys, and do something else. That's how I'm going to do it. So the second game, and I'd like to hear thoughts on this one from everyone and which side we want to attack it on, is Arizona versus Seattle. You look at the numbers. Seattle is bleeding points. Not only are they scoring well over expectations, they're bleeding points to the point where opposing QBs are scoring. I don't have the number. I got to get the sheet in front of me here, but massive points bleeds to opposing wide receivers, opposing quarterbacks, all of that. I'm going to actually pull up the actual numbers here, but let's go around. And how are you attacking this game, BobbyWow?
Yeah, I think for me, Kyler Murray is going to be my second highest owned quarterback on the slate. I think he has struggled. I think that's obvious. He hasn't lived up to the Kyler Murray that we were all expecting maybe 2 years ago. But I think it's, like you said, a very good environment. What interests me a little bit is I think Benjamin being the running back changes the dynamic a little bit as well. I think with James Conner, you're looking at somebody that can vulture. You're looking at somebody that's going to get some more of the ground game. I don't know that that's true of Benjamin as much. So combination of the environment, of the running back situation, and just the low ownership that he's carrying right now. I think for all those reasons, I really, really like Kyler Murray.
Take a look at this. Seattle giving up 11 more fantasy points per game to QBs than expectations. Do you know how big of a number that is? It's massive. Giving up 8 more fantasy points. And of course, the tight end position, we got to throw this one out almost because it was that Hawkinson explosion. But these numbers, this is an awesome tool. These numbers imply that you want a piece of anybody playing against Seattle, but Arizona is not that much worse. So here, Arizona also they're bleeding points to tight ends a little bit. Yeah, I don't love the tight ends for Seattle, but I think we talked about. I think I talked about that with Statsational. He was, or in one of the shows earlier, where he's like, "Oh, Noah Fant," but I don't. Disley, I don't like it. But what I do like is targeting that game. Burns, how are you targeting this one? We going crazy game stacks?
Yeah, so I'll be going game stacks. I'll also be doing single offs with Kyler Murray and Brown in this one. I also like Rondale Moore in this game a lot. I think he has the upside to go off at 4.2K. It's an awesome price for him on DraftKings. And then you can take a completely different look and go Benjamin and pair him up with Ertz in a stack there, and then run it back with Geno and Metcalf and potentially lock it in this game. So there's so many different ways to stack up this game. It's actually going to be a fun build for this game this weekend, I think. So it's not just a Lamar Jackson to Andrew stack where everybody else can be just, that's it. There's a lot of potential for this game, and this is one of my favorite games of the week.
Burns, I got to say, your camera is looking good.
Yeah, for once.
Camera quality is like, what happened? What did you change? It looks amazing.
I don't know. I
can see the sparkles in his eyes and everything.
I graced it with a touch of shark.
Did you jam a hanger in the reset? This is like when I was a kid, I had the TV. I take a hanger from the thing, put it over here, go like, oh, channel 5's coming in. Fox, let's go. Right? Simpsons is on.
Yeah.
Married with Children is on. I got to put the hanger on it. Looks amazing. Yeah. Josiah.
Man, I'm telling you, Geek, I thought this was going to be the week that I was finally not going to play Kyler Murray because I've been that idiot playing him every single week for the last 6 weeks. And I was like, finally not going to lose money playing Kyler. But it looks like I'm going to still this week once again play Kyler.
You got to play Kyler. Kyler's been so bad. I'm with you. I'm with you. But you got to play him this week. This is a week.
Got to play him one more time.
Yeah, one more time.
Hey, I did the same thing with McLaurin last night. Got to play him one more time. But yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm gonna play Kyler. I'm gonna play Geno. I think both sides makes a lot of sense here. You can game stack it like Burns said. For me personally, I'm not gonna force the game stack, but I think just with how limited my player pool is going to be, it's gonna happen naturally. So we'll see.
A lot of players from this game. I love the individual pieces. Burns, you mentioned Rondale Moore, and I love him. And of course, Seattle only has the 2 guys that they throw to, which is helpful. So, we only really got to worry about Lockett and DK, and that's nice. And then, of course, Kyler, Marquise Brown, going to be very low owned, but we can afford a luxury marquee on a slate with all this running back value. So, like, we can actually afford 17 targets Marquise Brown on a slate like this. Like, no problem. I will force the stack. I like both sides of it. I like the Geno side. I like the Kyler side. This is my favorite game of the week. And this is the one I want to build around. I think if you can build entire lineups around this, cheap running backs and Mark Andrews. Like, I just built your lineup for you this week. This game,
that easy.
Cheap running backs, Mark Andrews tight end, pick the right defense, $1 million. I just gave it to you. That's the formula. Should we just stop the show here?
I mean,
are we done? Are we done now? That's it. That's how you win the million. Just kidding. We got a lot more to talk about. But I'm pretty sure I just gave the $1 million formula out. But we got a lot more to talk about. Hold on. Mental note. 23 minutes into show, Kevin gives $1 million lineup out. Clip of that. Okay. Now we talked about the 2 big game environments. Let's see if we can figure out any other spots that we're interested in. So obviously, Josh Allen, yes. Mahomes, okay. This game, Seattle, Geno, Kyler, fantastic. Who else? Who else are we playing tournaments? And guys who are watching this, I'm throwing this out to you guys as well. Watchers, drop a comment in here. We know who the big name. Don't drop Josh Allen. I'm aware of Josh Allen this week. Give me something that I wasn't thinking about for NFL Week 6 that could end up a stack, a QB wide receiver stack that could end up being a nuts stack at super low. Forget loaner that we weren't thinking about or that aren't part of those 2 major games. So let's go around the room here. And however you guys want to do it. BobbyWow, I'll start with you. Where are we going outside of these 2 games? And do we need to go outside? Can we just stick with these 2?
I'm the wrong person to ask that question. I feel like we do have to go outside of these games.
We do?
And I think so. I think so. And here's where I'm going. I'll give you 3 spots. The first spot is Minnesota, Miami. I think I have some legitimate Kirk Cousins interest again here. He was close to popping off last week. If he throws one in instead of Dalvin Cook running one of those in, I think he scores really well. This is a prime spot for him and JJ to continue their run of being in sync. So I like Kirk a lot here. I liked him last week. I like him here again. I think the Dolphins defense isn't that great against the pass. They've struggled, and I don't even mind running it back. I know there's a rookie quarterback on the other side, but Jalen Waddle is cheap, compared to what we've seen him at. So Kirk Cousins is one guy. Two other guys real quick. Value, Danny Dimes. Take a look at him. Incredibly cheap. I think he's almost min price. I know you hate it. You hate it. Fine, whatever. But easy to stack in a game stack. So I love that piece. And then I gotta shout out DFS Up North and say he's excited about Zach.
Oh my
Wilson.
God, you're going there.
So I just have to give him a shout out. Anytime he says something, I listen, and he kind of likes Zach Wilson. So you'll have to read his article to get more on that. But Kirk Cousins is my legitimate option that I'm excited about outside of the group we talked about.
It's a struggle to want to like any of these guys. It's a struggle. It's hard.
I was not looking at Wilson at all this week until I read North's article. And the reason why I actually like his pick on Wilson is something that not many members are actually going to pick up on first reading that article. It's the fact that Jets are the number one play action pass team in the NFL, going against the worst play action defense in the NFL. So that's the only reason why I'm on Wilson, and that's it. Nothing else.
It doesn't seem like you'd be on Wilson at all.
Well, I'm only on him because of that. I outside of that, I'm not even on him. I mean, he's a non-favored quarterback. Can he get 300 yards passing? Potentially.
Maybe.
Very unlikely.
Yeah.
It's a potential. I don't see it, but I do understand it. And I've seen that stat about the play action pass of Wilson a few times and how the Packers are really bad against it. Not going there. I'm really boring this week, Geek. I'm really boring. I'm sticking with Brady, Jackson, Murray, Geno Smith, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes. That's my 6, and that's what I'm sticking with. I'm not getting cute.
Brady is really nice. A couple people and then I don't have a lot of other ones either. I think Brady is playable, but it doesn't excite me.
No.
I like Geno a little bit more, but Brady's definitely in play and playable. He could pop off. I think Lamar Jackson is the guy that we haven't mentioned that I think has enough upside. I mean, we talked to Kyler already. Lamar Jackson probably has enough upside to be in the conversation. But there ain't a whole lot that I'm going to be. I just don't. I have a very difficult time just envisioning where Josh Allen fails.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, he failed. He had what did he get? A 26? What is the fail? A 28?
Yeah. Like the 26, like that's a fail.
When I have cheap running backs, I could take a 28 from my quarterback.
At 8.2K, I think anything 27 points and below is a fail.
Mm-hmm.
Might not win me a tournament if he gets 27 below, but I would bet that you play this game out 10 times and 7 times out of 10, Josh Allen is scoring 30 plus. Maybe, So, and ownership is never that high on a quarterback. Like, no matter how much I think ownership should be higher, like, it almost never goes past 15%. Just never happens. So I don't have to worry as much about the chalk. All right. So let game environments. This one's an easy week because we literally have only identified like 2 or 3 that are even worth screwing with. And that's great. Let's concentrate on that.
I don't know, Kev. I think the one that one of the members, what's his name? Brandon Hoder just put out there is money. Marshawn Lattimore is out this week. Load up on Chase week this time. He is 7.7K. The last time he was in 7s, he blew up. Also in this game, Mixon is under 7,000. Last time we saw Mixon under 7,000, he was in the winning Millie Maker lineups all last year. He never was in the winning Millie Maker lineups when he was 7,000 and greater.
Part of the reason he made those because that price was down. And so it allowed those scores to be more effective.
I love Chase this week. I was actually on Chase when Lattimore was in because I feel like that actually was going to suppress his ownership And Chase is a difference maker at wide receiver. He's like Justin Jefferson. They come from the same school, LSU. They just breed top big wide receivers down there in the Bayou, and with great hands. And he has got money hands. Him and Burrow are 1-2 connection. And don't forget about Higgins in this one either.
Are you playing Burrow this week, Burns? Is he one of your quarterbacks?
Yeah, he was one of mine. I have some obscure ones. Like I'll probably have I'll have ownership in Rodgers at home. I'll have ownership in a couple other areas too. Like I do like Kirk Cousins, Bobby. I think he's got a great matchup. And let me tell you, I'm not even afraid to play Justin Jefferson in the Xavier Howard matchup. I think it's going to suppress his ownership just like Jamar Chase. So I actually really like it a lot. And I give kudos to StatSational earlier in the week on it too.
Yeah, Burrow is interesting in that spot. I mean, it's a low total game if we had to have a negative, but I absolutely adore Chase. He's got to break out. Remember last week we kind of talked about Jefferson is like kind of like it was like a nondescript spot, but he's Justin Jefferson and he could pop off for 40 in any game at any point at any time. And that's kind of like what happened last week. I could see that same situation happen here with Jamar Chase, where it's not like Burrow scores 38. Burrow kind of does the normal thing, but a lot of it goes to Chase. Higgins been banged up, got the foot problems. And Chase just kind of gets one of his 35 point. You're like, hey, where'd that come from? Oh, he scored a touchdown, got 120 yards and 9 receptions. And yeah, that'll do it. Okay, 13, 9. All right, boom. And he gets you to 33 or something like that. That could totally happen. And I love that you're looking at the salary coming down as a reason. Like, hey, he's had a few bad. What that implies is, the field is getting lower and lower on the player. It's funny. I got on that same note talking about Jamar Chase. Maybe this for me is an implicator as well. I got multiple questions on Twitter on fantasy football questions about should I start Chase and the other guy was like Lazard, or it was like, I was like, wow, it's that bad. It's like, should I start Chase or Duvernay this week? And I'm like, whoa. That's where we were at. Like, he's not been that bad. But legit, I was like, holy shit, that's a sign to start Chase. It's, that's a sign. Like, that's one of those signs where you want to start that guy.
I don't know. I got probably 5 entries in the $555 Millie Maker, and one of them is going to be a Burrow lineup. So
okay. Yeah, I'll be right there with you too, Geek, though. Like I have a 0 Burrow, but I'll be very heavy on Chase just because, like you guys said, like Lattimore being out is a game changer. But even beforehand, like you said, Burns, like he was already on my short list too, just because it made sense.
All right. So as we talk a little bit about the wide receiver position up top, we're not going to get a whole lot of chalk up top, but again, we can afford a lot. We can afford a lot of different approaches this week because of the running back value. Right. So at the very, very tip is Cooper Kupp. And Cooper Kupp remains. I love Cooper Kupp. I love him as a player. He's awesome. At any player at 9,700, we have to always remind ourselves what it's going to take for this guy to help us win a tournament. For Cooper Kupp, we're talking 40 points minimum. It's hard to get a 40 burger. He has not helped anybody win a tournament this week yet, really, this season.
That's how good he's been, though. Like that, they're pricing him at that point. That's crazy. That's wild.
Super likely to get you 3x almost every single time. No other pass catchers on that team. Got a Q tag. I lowered my exposure to Cooper Kupp this week just because he's not really helping. You don't find him in tournament winning lineups unless we're talking a much smaller number of entrants, right? If I need to get a 250, Cooper Kupp is probably not helping me there because I need 50 points out of him to be on pace for 250. Do you guys take that into account? We love what Cooper Kupp's been doing week after week, but when they hit a certain number, when they're at 10K, and I mean, you guys are all tournament experts. Are you looking at that going, he's actually more risky than, like a Godwin type of player because my odds of getting a 5x or a 4.5x out of Cooper Kupp, as much as I love the locked in 30, my odds of getting the 40 or 45 are not that high. I mean, just players aren't going to do that, but a couple times a year, even the super studliest of studs. So how do you treat that, BobbyWow?
Yeah, I think you have to consider it for sure. I think that's a really good point. I mean, to me, if there was a time where Kupp didn't have to get up to 40 points, this is a slate where it's possible, just because you're not like squeezing every ounce out of your value. There's so much value that you don't necessarily need Kupp to beat everyone under him to be in the optimal lineup. So yes, I agree with you. That should absolutely play into how we construct our lineups. But I do think this week allows us some grace and gives us a little more reason to play him.
That's fair. Yeah. Real quick, I'm going to pause here and mention our sponsor for this episode, No House Advantage. We love No House Advantage, guys, because they give us lots of overlay, and I like free money. So I'll tell you a little real quick about No House Advantage. They are a prop site. You pick an over, under, any prop, and they're, of course, you could play it against the house, similar to a lot of the other prop sites. And, you know, their props are very beatable. I like, I find them not to be directly from the sports book, so there is a little bit of value in just attacking those props. But my favorite way to attack No House Advantage is right here on their big tournament, where you assign, you pick props for 10 different players, each assigned a points value. So, you know, it's up to 85, 83. I think I did this earlier in the week. It was like 65 for Ramondre, so it went up for this one. But, you know, you would pick your favorite prop, assign a 10-point value to it. If you're right, you'd get 10 points. You get 10 of them. And if you are the highest scorer in this tournament, you will win the tournament, just like a GPP in DFS. So they found a really cool way to not just do prop games head-to-head, but also against the house. And, of course, if you go over there and you want to check it out and support the show, if you use promo code DFS Army, they will give you a deposit match. So make sure to check out No House Advantage and, you know, beat the house. No House Advantage. They got no advantage on you. Whatever that means. All right. Moving on. All right. So we're talking wide receivers. And yeah, so listen, a lot of weeks I don't like Stephon Diggs because it's hard for him to get there. We have enough value this week. I'm back on the Diggs train. I'm on it. I just want everything to do with that game.
Wow.
I'm on it.
I didn't think I was going to see the day.
That's so unlike you, Geek. I'm disappointed.
Yeah. I think he can get there at 8,400. Against the problem is I need to stack that game.
Yeah, I get it.
What are you going to do? Like Gabriel Davis's price now came up a little bit to like a weird place.
$2K cheaper than Stephon Diggs.
I'm playing Davis too. I'm playing McKenzie, but I'm not Xing out Diggs like I did last week. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And I think Diggs is probably the safest pay up in cash. Outside of Cooper Kupp, who has a Q tag, and I don't really like taking chances on players with a Q tag in like a cash game, for example. So, yeah, Diggs has just been getting peppered with those targets, though. Like, you know what? Part of 11 targets last week, 11, 15. He's had a 6 in there against Baltimore. That was a disaster. But Baltimore has a good cornerback. You know what KC doesn't have?
That.
They don't have a good cornerback. They don't have somebody. Burns, does KC have somebody that can hang with Diggs? No. If you're playing a 20 max, if you're making 20 lineups, I recommend no more than 2 quarterbacks. 2. Yeah. One is fine.
Yeah. I'll also mention Isaiah McKenzie. I think he's coming back this week from the looks of it.
He's already back. He's good to go.
He's back. Okay,
good. We don't get the Tupac Shakir cheat code.
Not this week.
No.
Not this week.
No. All right. So moving down, other names on the wide receiver charts that I kind of like, and we're in the stud zone here. I'm off of Tyreek. I'm off of Debo this week completely. No interest. Marquise Brown, yes, this is part of that game. I want a piece of this game. I'm off of Pittman, but Davis, off of Higgins, Metcalf. So let's go around the room here, guys. Outside of the players from the big games that we've already kind of gone over, we need some middling salary wide receivers. Maybe try to figure out who's chalk and how we can get off of some of that chalk. Let's take a look here at what we got going on. So it looks like Tyler Lockett will be massively owned, but DK Metcalf significantly lower because of the salary. You know what's interesting? FanDuel has Metcalf and Lockett exactly the same price. But DraftKings has DK Metcalf as the better play. Do you guys agree with that or not? I mean, I don't really know what to do with that dichotomy, but like, Josiah, what do you think of that? Why it's the same on FanDuel?
Yeah, my instinct is always just to go to where there's lower ownership. But I mean, I think FanDuel has it right. Like, DK Metcalf has been getting the vast majority of targets, things of that sort. So like, I think FanDuel, I think DraftKings has it right. Like, having that gap is important. But I'll have exposure to both. Probably a little bit higher on Metcalf just due to ownership, but Lockett's still a great play too.
Yeah, it's almost forcing. I mean, the reason Lockett's ownership is going to be this much, almost double that of Metcalf, is because he's just cheaper.
Yeah, so cheap.
Like he's done more or less. They've been about the same.
Good.
We also learned this season from Geno Smith that I guess a conventional wisdom was that he couldn't hit like a shifty little target like Lockett. It was more throwing it up and DK Metcalf can go up and get it. But that's not what has been happening with Geno this year. Geno's been throwing it good, so to speak. Like he's been very good, very sharp, accurate, throwing bombs. So like, I think he can complete the pass to either of these guys. It's no problem. After the chalk guys, BobbyWow, where are you going at the wide receiver position?
Yeah, I think for me, I love Chris Godwin, although he's a little chalky. He's so cheap. I mean, he's unbelievably cheap for Chris Godwin. So he's one of my favorites. I mentioned Kirk Cousins earlier. That's going to put me on Adam Thielen, at least in game stacks. Olave is really, really cheap.
Now that Olave's coming back, very interesting.
Yep. He's extremely cheap. I think his ceiling to price ratio is one of the highest on the slates. And then one guy I want to mention too, and I want to get Josiah's thoughts on it. It's not a joke. Does PJ Walker breathe new life into Lazarus, into DJ Moore? New coach, new quarterback, DJ Moore, incredibly cheap and not chalky for once.
You know how to put a smile on my face like right away. Like just right away, instant joy just talking about it. It's like you see what's right in front of me. I have the DS up in front of me always while we're doing this show just to make sure I'm thinking about things the right way. And I told you guys my 6 quarterbacks I have that are in my pool. There's one more that's still checked. There's one more that's checked, but technically not playing because the DS doesn't like him enough. Or even when I only have 7 quarterbacks in my pool, PJ Walker still isn't showing up in lineups out of 150. But do I like PJ Walker? Yes, but the matchup's too tough for him. I can't do it.
PJ Walker. DJ Moore. You know, I had to look up a little bit.
But PJ Moore with him too. That stack right there, I do like. But go ahead.
All right, let's ask let's ask the Bishop about this stack because I need a higher knowledge power to let us know what they think about it.
No.
The Bishop has spoken. No PJ on the road at the Rams. They're angry Rams at the angry Rams.
I wish I could so bad. I really want to.
I like the coach got fired. Players have a relief rally.
Mobile quarterback.
He's not really mobile, is he?
He was in that other league. What is it, like the XLB? I don't know.
XFL maybe, but
yeah, the XFL. He used to run a ton, but in the NFL he hasn't as much.
He hasn't done it at all in the NFL. So, yeah. I listen. I think it's a bit. It's the team total's like 12 on that one for the Panthers. It's a bit of a stretch for me.
Yeah, I think for me it was. I saw several mentions of Stafford stacks in the chat. and DJ Moore, if you're wanting to run that game back, DJ Moore is insanely cheap.
Look at DJ Moore here existing on the chalkboard. So
okay, 6%. Okay, no, that's true.
He's there. I have a couple of cheapies that I like this week at the wide receiver position. So I want to go over a few of them. Olave, is he cheap? 5,500. I like that too, because Olave is the only guy. I like him. Last week he was doing great, concussed, but he was doing great before. So a couple cheapies I like. And you guys mentioned this already. He's part of the exciting game, of course, but Rondale Moore, schemed looks. They're actively getting him involved, and we love the game environment anyway. So I really like the spot for Rondale Moore. There's a couple others in that $4,300, $4,200 range. Alec Pierce, you guys mentioned him. People are much more excited about the fact that Dillon is out, and that's helping Austin. I don't even care about that. Dillon was not really competing that hard. It's just, I think, this is a win coming up for the Colts. And, this is a guy for 4,200 who gets a bunch of targets. Zay Jones, I think, is playable down there as well. Mm-hmm. And, I can't do it, but I want to do it. And this comes back. This is a BobbyWow guy. I want to do this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stomach it, but it's Darius Slayton with Daniel Jones.
Oh, that is so. You warm my heart. Oh man,
it's so gross. I will not play the Daniel Jones. I'm not doing that part of it.
That's a way.
I'm not doing the Daniel Jones component of this one, but I'll play some Slayton because people have not picked up on that Slayton is the WR1 for the Giants yet. So I like that. It's just, I can get a number one wide receiver for a team for 3,800. I like that. This is the WR1 for the Giants right now.
I mean, Baltimore's defense is so bad that this stack actually makes a ton of sense. Like, it really does. I might actually take a guy out and end up playing this instead. I
gotta stop you. I gotta stop you because
I like it.
Don't believe the numbers. I talked about it with Statsational. Baltimore defense is not that bad. They got Marlon Humphreys back. They got another cornerback back whose name I can't remember. I can never Malcolm Brown. I don't know what the name is. Who's the WR2? I can never, my brain will not accept these names. The CB2. They have two good cornerbacks. They were hurt. So the stats are lying about Baltimore. Their pass defense is actually good. It's the rush defense that's more exploitable. It should be a
we're talking about Peters, Marcus Peters?
Yes. He's not bad, but Marlon Humphreys is elite.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Peters, there it is. Yeah, thanks guys. Even Robert Mitchum got it kind of wrong. That's what I'm saying. I can never remember his name. So I think they have good cornerback. I don't think they're bad. I don't think so. I think I think we misread it because they were injured early in the season and they just got torched with backups back there.
Oh, thank you for that, Geek. I don't want to play the Giants. I was looking for a reason to not switch things out, so I'm back. But still, on top of that, I wouldn't be against the Giants stack just because Daniel Jones has proven he has that upside. In Baltimore, even when they were healthy last year, they weren't a bad defense, but they still weren't someone to be afraid of. So I'm okay with it.
Geek, Humphreys and Peters have played in every game this season. What are we talking about?
No, they were out for the first couple weeks.
Yeah, there were some injuries there.
Yeah, they were out for the first few weeks. Humphreys was definitely out for the first 2 weeks. And that's when Baltimore was getting torched by when they were giving up all those points, it was the first couple weeks when they were out.
They were both in against the Dolphins, the Patriots.
They were both in against the Dolphins. I feel like, but injured, but limping around out there.
True. Okay, I'm just glad to hear Josiah say he's got some
1 and 2. Either way, last week
I don't
they
even want to
played
talk
really
about
well.
it anymore. I don't want to be talked into it. Let's just move on.
All right, we keep going. All right, so what are you guys liking at the middle to lower end price range at wide receiver that I didn't just mention? And Josiah, I'll go to you this time. Burns, I keep skipping you because you're in between.
We good.
All right, so Josiah, we'll go counterclockwise here.
Yeah, I mean, my lines, at least as of this moment, are so just kind of like basic and not interesting. But I feel so bad like trying to find something interesting to tell you guys. But I mean, I think Romeo Dobbs, Drake London are guys that are in play for me in the mid range, and going lower, you mentioned like Zay Jones and Alec Pierce, things of that sort. Like I'm willing to just kind of get like the high target guys on teams, or just kind of what I'm targeting to fill in the rest of my lineups. Like I have my stacks, I have my running backs, and I'm just kind of looking for high target fillers going throughout the rest of my lines.
Burns, anyone stand out for you? And Dustin mentioned Pickens. I forgot George Pickens. I love. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, was on Pickens last week.
Pickens is a good one. I'll start mine, and I'll go from the higher salary range down. I like Mike Evans this week a lot. I think he's got a great matchup going against Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend. I also like in the 6K range, I like Lazard. I'm going to have Rodgers, and he's going to be in my player pool, so I'll be stacking him up with Aaron Jones, Dobbs, and Lazard. And then further down at the 5K range, I really like Jacoby Myers this week. I think he's got a great matchup this week. At the 4K range, outside of those that we've already talked about, I do like if you're gonna go with Wilson as your QB to start your stack, I like Corey Davis this week with Garrett Wilson as well. And then if I want to get a little funky in that Tampa Bay game, Pittsburgh Steelers is very bad against the slot. So load up with Gage and you'd be all set at that 4.4K range. So
that is getting funky. You know what helps the Gage play? Picture this happening. Godwin gets hurt. Second play of the game. Q tag.
Can happen.
No one likes Gage. Unused this week. And all of a sudden Gage has a 28-pointer because Godwin was hurt. So I like that thought, but I do think you need the Godwin injury. No one's mentioned Devin Duvernay, but Rashad Bateman is out this week for the Ravens. So Duvernay, interesting. Probably not even just in stacks with Lamar, but also as a standalone play. BobbyWow, where are you at wide receiver this week? We know who the kind of chalky plays are, but give me a little bit about like who you're going to be on. Maybe trying to get a little different with some low owned leverage plays.
I think we all mentioned it for the most part. I mean, I mentioned Adam Thielen, DJ Moore isn't all that low owned, but I'm interested in him, and Slayton was actually one of my guys too. So I think we just about covered him.
Nice. All right.
The one thing I'll mention on Duvernay, like you mentioned, Bateman being out. Bateman was out last week, and Duvernay saw 25% of the target share, which is a huge increase from what we normally see from Duvernay. So there's definitely there are more options than just Andrews this week if you are playing Jackson. And like you said,
he has the best wide receiver matchup too this week for Baltimore.
Yeah. Duvernay is Duvernay, it only usually takes him like two receptions to get a touchdown. So you give him 7 targets. That's like insanity for Devin Duvernay. You know what I mean? Like this guy was such a nothing last year too. It's amazing that he's now a fantasy relevant guy, but that's our life now. That's who we are. And that's how we're living.
That's what we're here for.
All right, let's talk the running back position. And running back is going to be where the money is made. Is it? I don't know. I think strategically and psychologically, I'm really curious to see what happens. And I really want to see an ownership refresh now with all of the definitive Eno news and the definitive Darrell Henderson Jr. news and all of this. And I'm not even sure if it's definite or known definitive that Harris will be out for the Patriots. But once we sort of get all of that and mix it into the sauce, we try to figure out ownerships. Do you guys think the field will still want to play one? The field doesn't like playing a lot of cheap running backs. They don't feel like your average player feels that they want to mix an elite with a cheap guy together. They don't feel good about having like a bunch of cheapos in there. Mm-hmm. So do we feel like the field will not start every single lineup or be, it's like the field's not going to do this, right? They're going to try to get an expensive guy in there. Are they just going to be like, nope, let's go Ramondre, let's go Walker, let's go
Yeah, I think people put Saquon in there.
You think we're going to see some Saquon? We're going to see some Fournette?
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Taylor starting. What about John? Oh my God! How about him breaking the slate, coming back, and no one at 0 ownership?
It's possible.
Is he definitely in though? Definitely starting.
He's been practicing, so we'll see. But he will be unowned. That I can tell you, because no one wants to play an expensive running back with a giant Q tag next to his name, because you feel like he's probably going to get hurt in the game and burn all your lineups. But, you know, Jonathan Taylor's got 40-point upside against Jacksonville.
Yes, and even more so if Hines is out. He had that concussion last week, remember? So even more potential targets.
I do not expect Hines to play. So I like that. So BobbyWow, you mentioned Aaron Jones. You're going there?
How did you know? I didn't think I mentioned him, but that's exactly who I was going to talk about.
I was like, he was on my sheet. I don't know how you figure that out. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think for me, like, you look at number one, the ownership, crazy low. I think the big thing that drew me to him was his snap percentage last week. Went way up. I think he had 75% of the snaps or something along those lines. His ceiling is high against this team, and I Burns, if that was yours, take it away, man. But I love him.
No, Aaron Jones is the ultimate in, like, when you talk about GPP only.
Yes.
This guy does not get anywhere near. So understand this, right? Why are players priced where they are? Why do fantasy? Where does the fantasy production comes from? Opportunities, and when you look at the number of opportunities Aaron Jones is likely to have in a game relative to guys who are priced 2K less than him, I would say it's fewer. He will have fewer opportunities to touch the football than the Ramondres, than the Walkers, than those types of guys who are 2K less. So what you're saying, and both of you guys, two of you, like all three of you, all three. Is this a consensus?
Yeah,
all three.
So.
All three like Aaron Jones a little bit here, but my question. So this is a tournament play in spite of the fact that we don't expect him to get 25 touches in a game. Like, he better be damn good efficient, right, Burns?
Yep. He's not getting 25 touches this game. But he is your ultimate, like, DraftKings play this week,
or tournament leverage play. Let's call it.
Yes.
I don't want people to load up on this guy. He's probably nobody that should be more than, like, even if so. All right, let me go around the room then here, because give me your MME exposure to Aaron Jones this week, Josiah.
It's low.
Bring out what we mean.
Yeah, let's see. For me, Aaron Jones. Yeah, I'm at like 8 right now, and it's 8%. Early, so it's still over the field. A little bit of leverage, but not a ton. Like, Aaron Jones, like you said, is someone that I'm not planning on going super heavy on. But I want to be over the field on.
Well, in case he gives us another, 35 burger. Burns, where are you at? Give me a field, a weight, an exposure weight, and I'm coming to you next, BobbyWow.
Earlier in the week, I was about 12.5%, 15% on him. I'm more around the 18% range on him now.
Going high. All right. And Bobby,
I'm 15%.
Yeah, 50%. So the reason I wanted you guys to just give that is because I don't want to convey what we're talking about half the time. Like, oh, I like him. And then you're like, wait, you set to play. It means get a little bit of leverage against the field. So your assumption, BobbyWow, is he'll be about 5% owned. So you're going to triple that.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the top. That's the top end even for me. So exact to your point. Yes.
So, like, if you want to get crazy with Aaron Jones, and that means getting crazy with him, you're talking about like 12 to 15% exposure versus field 4 to 5% exposure. Okay. So I'm down with that. And I wanted to clarify that because I think that people may hear us say things and not understand, like, hey, we're talking about mass multi-entry strategies, trying to take down $1 million, not what I'm going to do in my, 70-person, $500 entry this week. I'm putting that dude in it. You know what I mean? Like, he gets you a 12 for 7,600 more often than he gets you a 35. It's not a good scene when he's not doing his thing. Does Rodgers go over 300?
Yes.
No.
If Wilson keeps it, if Wilson keeps it close. Yes.
Man, I can't remember the last time Rodgers. You hear he beat writer said he has made it clear he's retiring at the end of this year.
Huh.
Look how happy BobbyWow is.
Like my Bears aren't owned anymore.
It's not going to help the Bears win.
Yeah,
Okay. That was ugly, Geek. That was ugly.
That was mean.
They got to learn to catch the ball. Oh,
it's okay.
Game was brutal.
Geek's just telling you what people told him when Tom Brady left.
Yeah, like I was sad when Tom Brady left the Patriots because I was like, at least I got to watch the GOAT while my team stunk for the last 20 years. At least there was a GOAT here blocking me. I felt like we have an excuse. There's no more excuse with.
Now we just suck.
You lose your excuse. I could use it. I was like, oh, Jets aren't bad. They're just fucking Patriots. No one can beat them. Now I'm like, nope. Turns out.
Is his thumb hurt though? Is Rodgers still dealing with a hurt hand or thumb or something? I thought I saw that.
I didn't hear anything about that. I didn't hear anything about his thumb issue. I don't know anything about that. All right, so let's continue on this.
Someone mentioned Alliger, the running back for the Falcons. Algier earlier. Love to get your thoughts.
I'm not into Algier at all. I don't like that. I don't like that scene.
I'm not going there, but curious to see if anyone else was.
No.
Other cheap. We could talk about other cheap running backs, but Algier is not on my list. I like Raheem Mostert. Why not? As a pay down. Darrell Henderson Jr.
Mm-hmm.
At 5,100, no Cam Akers. By the way, what the hell, DraftKings? Keep him at 5,100. He should have been a cheapie.
Let me ask you guys something real quick. So we've already identified the 3 to 4 main pay downs in really, really good spots. So we had Ramondre, Kenneth Walker, we had Henderson, and then Eno. So my question is this a slate we even entertain a single thought about paying down somewhere else? Or is it one of those guys or paying up? Feels like it's getting a little too sketchy to try and find a 5th pay down option when this range seems so obvious. What are your thoughts?
I mean,
go ahead.
I was going to say, if you know me, you know I'm paying down at running back. Like, I'm not going to pay up for any of these guys. So I'm just not doing that. Like, the way I'm going to take on the slate, I'm not paying up for any running backs.
But my guess would be you're sticking with those 4. You're not going elsewhere outside to pay down.
No, but there are other cheap ones that actually make sense. So no, I'm not just going to exclusively stick with those 4 because there are other guys. Like, they're not the only ones. Hang on. So if you just kind of look at the running back position and we go sub 6K or in this zone. I mean, you mentioned Mixon and he does win you $1 million every once in a while. But like, no, Ramondre, Breece Hall, we didn't mention, but is in my mix at 5,800. I would include Breece Hall in the mix. I would include Raheem Mostert in the mix. So I think that there are names within this same salary range that you could get down. Of course, Kenny Walker, of course, Darrell Henderson, but like, yeah. So the other 2 would be Breece Hall and maybe a little Mostert for me, because they're not, when you add those 2 in, they don't still affect your build overall. It's like, I just don't want to have the same 3 guys or 4 guys mixed in every one. So if you roll in those other 2 guys to your mix, I think, and then maybe little sprinkles of some of the expense. Like when I'm running 150, maybe I'll have 7 to 8% of the Jonathan Taylors, of those Leonard Fournette types that are costing more. I'm just going to sprinkle them. And another thing I would mention, because we're definitely going to get this question, I am allowing running back in the flex on DraftKings this week because I want more of them than I normally would.
How high are you going?
Probably 70, 80%.
Whew.
Yeah, I'll go heavy running back this week. Burns, I know it's breaking a rule, but
not really. I mean, it's all in what you want to build.
I think you can win tournaments with cheaper running backs in there. it's just so much value. They're going to project better. And it's not like there are some wide receiver values too. Like Olave is probably just as good of an upside play as any one of these running backs for the 5,800, I would say. There's a few
You guys
guys
have a favorite? Like a favorite cheap or of the running backs we've been mentioning, like Ramondre Stevenson, Kenneth Walker, do you guys have like an absolute favorite? Because for me, I know those 4. And like you mentioned, BobbyWow, like I'm not trying to go outside of those 4 really when I'm paying down. But I don't know like which of the 4 I want to kind of like get the most leverage on.
I'll go around. I don't want to say which mine is first. So, Bobby, who's your favorite of the foursome?
Oh man, I think the most obvious is Ramondre to me. It's hard not to like Benjamin at that price though. So those two are tied.
So Ramondre and Eno tied for you, Burns.
I mean, Ramondre earlier in the week, all the way up until about today, I was like,
lock button.
It was like almost like my finger was just, Pavlov's dog there, like, hey, Ramondre. But now that we got news that Akers is going to be out, I do like Henderson at that 5,100. You're going to save 900 off of Ramondre, and you pair him with Eno or you pair him with Kenneth in that game. Kenneth Walker. I think that's a pretty nice little pairing there. You get about a $10,000 pairing. So that those are the kind of salary ranges, like, mixtures that I like to do. So this week.
After last week, I played a lot of Kamara last week and it worked out. So, but I don't think I like him this week. I don't really. What about Kamara? But Josiah, of that group, who do you like the most?
Yeah, I mean, you guys remember last week we were laughing at me a little bit for my philosophies. You play running backs against the Panthers, and it worked out last week, even with Coleman stealing touchdowns from Wilson. You got to do it again, right? We got to go back. Even if you're not getting touchdowns, you can still score points on this team. So you might as well.
Henderson Jr. I played a lot of DHJ last year and had a lot of good games with him. I will say that on FanDuel, I don't know the salary yet because we literally found out the Akers stuff right before we started this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going higher. This is what these got 60, 65, 70% exposure. You have 3 spots, and if there are 4 or 5 guys that your core, it's like 60% that fills it. So that 60 to 65% sounds about right. But like, what's the salary for DHJ on FanDuel? Because I would imagine it's probably in the 5,600 range if I had to guess.
I'll check right now.
Oh, there, Atomic Fish is all over it. It's like
57.
Bring him on as a producer of this show because he is like all over this. 5,700. So there you go. By the way, on that note, you've been with us for a while. I've always forget to mention this. Guys, stop what you're doing right now. Stop, hit like, hit subscribe, hit notification bell. Just do it. I'll wait.
1 minute of silence.
All right. Thank you very much. Hit it. Wait, you didn't do it. You fucker. Now I'm waiting more.
But look at the running backs that is around Henderson on FanDuel at 5.7K. I mean, it's almost laughable. Like, he's at 5.7K on FanDuel, and the only running back that is worth a salt in the area is Singletary. I mean, look at it. It's got Pacquiao, Tevin Coleman,
garbage.
Pirine. You got.
Wait,
Algier.
Are you on FanDuel or DraftKings right now?
I'm just looking at FanDuel. I always look at DraftKings, but FanDuel, it's like, it's laughable. Like, you're getting a guy that's going to get a significant amount of volume at 5.7K and the guys around him it's just laughable, I guess.
So this is a really good question, Dustin. And yes, it should scare you, but I will tell you this from experience. If you can create a core around the running back position, how do you win a tournament? We've got players that are significantly undervalued relative to their potential outcomes, right? All look like comfortable 4X and more. So how do you win a tournament? You win a tournament by building around a core and being right. And then the rest of what you're mixing in will find its way to, everybody hits me up and Kevin, they say, Kevin, I'm really good at DFS, but I'm always off by 1 or 2 players every week. What can I do different? And I wish I had like a solution for that. The answer is make enough lineups that like those two that you're off by get swapped out in one of the lineups to two players that do well. Like there is no answer other than that, right? Just keep at it. One of these times you're not going to miss. So in the case of, for my personal play, I've been playing DFS since 2011, since before it was even invented. I've been playing DFS since before cell phones existed. Okay. And one thing I've learned, the tournaments that I've taken down, it's almost always been when I'm like all in on a couple spots. And generally it's been cheap running backs. Like I remember who the hell? There was a Bears running back, BobbyWow. It's like, I can't remember his name in like 2014. Who came in, scored, he put in a touchdown as an end zone play. I can't remember, but it took a tournament down. I was in Cancun watching TV in the bar, and it's like Kerry Blasingame. I can't remember the guy's name, but it was something like that. Like everybody's like, this guy sucks. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. He's a running back starting on a run first team for 4,500. I'm going all in. And that dude put up a crazy score on a Monday night. And I was like, winning tournaments galore. I was like, oh my God, I'm at the top of everything.
Jordan Howard, back in the Jordan Howard days?
It wasn't Jordan Howard.
Kadeem Carey might have been it.
What was the name?
Kadeem Carey could have been the guy.
I cannot remember. But my point is this, like, you load up on these guys, and if you're right, then we're talking about all these different QB wide receiver stacks, game stacks, everything. But when you're kept consistent with those 3 or 4 plays and they hit, that's how you win $1 million. That's how you win a tournament. That's how you take down the big bucks. If you look at some of the big time players who MME, and we back test a lot of their stuff, and we look at what people are doing, going heavy and being right is probably your best path to winning a tournament. So I don't have an issue when I feel confident with a few players. Of course, one of them is usually going to fail. But I can say last week we had 4 or 5 chalk running backs, and they all absolutely smashed, to the point where the right approach would have been just load up on the Kamara, Fournette group and Breece Hall and like whoever we had as our top 4 chalk plays. And they all 4 of them smashed. So it can happen. And that's how you take a tournament down. Then you mix up those other spots. You'll eventually find the right mix. It's usually the defense in the end of the day that gets you. It's like, oh man, I would have won, except I needed some random defense. So I lost my train of thought. We were talking about the running back position, but I kind of lost where we were.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly where we were, but I do know that we were talking about Henderson at first, and I don't think we talked a lot about Kamara either. He's someone who he's probably going to get some touchdowns vultured, whether it be Taysom, anybody else on that team. But I still have a good amount, as of right now at least, I still have a good amount of Alvin Kamara, just with the matchup itself and just hoping that he can get some touchdowns. He had a good amount of action in the receiving world as well. So pulling.
He got a lot of pass catching work last week. Pretty good game, but I would also say, 27.4 was 6, 12, 18, 24. Like he made value.
Yeah.
But considering Taysom Hill got like 5 touchdowns in that game as well,
insane.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that he made value. In fairness, and kudos. Not just to anybody who played Taysom Hill last week. And that was a FanDuel thing. But one of our guys, he won. He took down a tournament. His name is Bengal, Tiger or something Bengal. And he's like, oh, yeah, I went 30% Taysom. I was like, you did? And he showed me his mix. And he's like, first nuts, second nuts, third. I was like, oh, my God, this is the best distribution I've ever seen. What made you go 30? He's like, I don't know. I figured he'd get a couple of those opportunities, backup quarterback. And he's right. Like, that's when Taysom Hill has had his best games. And it was always a FanDuel play. You can't really play him on DraftKings. I think he's a quarterback on DraftKings or some weird position like a running back. But on FanDuel, he's a tight end. Okay.
Yeah. And the last strategy thing I'll add is kind of like exactly what you just mentioned, Geek. Like, my takedowns have always been like me going 70, 80% on some guy who's relatively popular, but I kind of went well overweight. Or I go 20, 30% on a low-end player, and then that way I'm well over the field on those low-end guys, and I can take a tournament down that way. So just different ways of going about it.
on that note, and I want to remind people, NBA starts on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday of this week. Josiah is going to be doing a regular show, breaking down the NBA slate. Going to be doing for DFS Army a live before lock show as well. We've got the whole team ready to smash for NBA this season. And if you're not signed up at DFS Army, now's the time. You could do any of our promos. We got a free offer at DFS. Let me show this. Let me show you something, guys. You know what? Everybody's like, I can't afford it. I don't want to pay. We got a free offer right here. You just click on that and you sign up for like any of the sites that we promote, that promote the site. Give them a $20 deposit. I don't care. You let us know. We give you that free month of VIP. You could check out what we do. I would say, and Bob, you correct me if I'm wrong. I think the greatest part about DFS Army NBA is the breaking news in Discord and how quickly we're able to react to it and analyze it and kind of give our subscribers a read on what the news means for the slate.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's pretty much our sweet spot. And also, I think part of why I wanted to have and do these shows is just to talk more strategy of everyone. And then the pre-lock show, we can talk about that late breaking news and actually talk about strategy that no one else is really thinking about. So
and it's in real time, it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. And I love your leverage, GPP leverage sheet. To be quite honest, it's like almost all that I use. Your core plays and your GPP leverage. That was like what I did for an entire season. I don't follow NBA. I just I just read your cheat sheet. Like that's a lot of how I do it. And Burns and BobbyWow are nodding like, yeah, that's pretty much what I do too. Like it's worked out pretty freaking well. So, projections, some notes, love the team at DFS Army for NBA. So it's not me. It ain't me. Don't at me about NBA questions. I'm LeBron. I don't know. That's all I know. All right. LeBron. Let's talk tight ends for a second. It's a tale of two cities here. Actually, three cities. Okay, we got the expensive city, San Francisco. We got the cheap way. Let me do this here. This will work better. We got the expensive San Francisco real estate right here, Kelsey and Andrews. Then we've got, the cheap seats with pretty much the rest of the tight end group. Although if you're on FanDuel, and if we're talking FanDuel, Taysom Hill's actually priced up with the expensive group, which is, again, crazy. And don't do that. Don't go there this week. So luxury tight end, guys, Kelsey and Andrews. And let's start with the pairing. I think we've already covered this just a smidge, but for me, I'm going to favor Andrews over Kelsey because the matchup is just better. I think Bills can shut down whoever the hell they want. If they make a choice, we're going to shut down Kelsey. That's what I would do if I was the Bills. I like if you were the Bills defense and you've been preparing for this game ever since you lost in the playoffs last year, and that's what they've been doing. And if you built an entire team with a specific goal in mind of beating the Chiefs, which is what they've done, I think they'll have a plan for Travis Kelce. BobbyWow, am I crazy?
No, you're not. I thought you were crazy earlier. I am going to backtrack on that. You brought me around. I didn't realize how expensive Kelce was. I am in full agreement with you, Geek.
Burns, if I pay up for Kelce, and if he doesn't get me 860 for 32, I'm losing. I'm not winning $1 million. He needs 32 against the Bills. Unmute.
You're going to lose a lot of money going Kelce this week anyway, simply because he's not a favorite in this game. Favorites on FanDuel in the tight end position, whether they're home or away, is 100% rostered and winning Sunday Million rosters, and it's at 90% on DraftKings. So if you want to keep your money, don't roster non-favorite tight ends. So I'm just going to put that out there, but I don't like Kelce at all this week.
I mean, I love the definitiveness, Josiah, of what Burns just said. 100%.
If my brain could ever work the way Burns's does and just be like, yeah, this is the way it is. This is the way it works 80% of the time. And be like, yeah, so that's what I'm going to do.
That.
I'd be a much more peaceful person, I think.
You cannot roster underdog tight ends. Who knew, right? But Burns knew. So Isn't that easy? I mean, when we're looking for reasons to fade a player, how about that? Like, okay, well, this guy's favored. This guy's not favored. Favored tight end tends to win million makers, and it is a stat. You're saying this year, Burns, but a lot of the stats you look at go back multiple years. Like, is this consistent for multiple seasons?
Yeah, it goes all the way back to 2016 when I first started writing this article for you. Yeah, it's
I claim full credit for him writing the article. I was like, you want to do this? And he's like, oh, I'll do that. And
yeah, it was kind of it's a kind of an interesting story if anybody ever wants to ask either Kevin or I about
yeah,
this,
like I had some ideas of the shark autopsy. Burn really made it his own, but like, yeah, I take full credit for it. And
you saw the forest through those trees.
Yeah. There we go. So that's what I'm saying here. I love that. You just made the choice so easy. So at the upper echelon, we could play Andrews, but I will say, as I've made some lineups this week, the Andrews lineup works a lot better with Geno at the helm than it does with Josh Allen at the helm. But again, those were pre Eno Benjamin / Darrell Henderson, some of these cheat codes where maybe it can work. But I do think that the luxury tight end will do better in a Geno lineup where you're paying down at quarterback. So moving down the tight end list, and I don't want to do all the talking. So I want to kind of like spread it around here because I know who I like. But we've got, Kittle, Ertz, Higbee, and Njoku was mentioned. And now Dawson Knox is coming back. So who do you like, Josiah, in the sort of standard tight end zone where we're not paying up for Andrews and we already decided we're out on Kelsey?
Yeah, the standard zone, I think Ertz is where you go. Best matchup. The funny thing is, like, both Seattle and Arizona are both the two worst teams against tight ends. And so, I mean, I think it's easy to take Ertz. His floor is safe. You can play Ertz in cash. And like you guys have already alluded to earlier, Fant is where you go on the super, super low end punt value play tight end. I think that's the way you can go as well. Disley even is viable too.
Such a good matchup. It's so hard to pull the trigger on either of those guys.
Yeah, it's almost the exact same thing as Jawan Johnson last week. Great matchup. He sucked. He didn't come through. This week, I'm going to play Noah Fant. Great matchup. Probably won't come through. But if it crushes, it crushes. So I'm not going to be super heavyweight on it.
I've heard some other names bandied about, but Burns, your numbers, which tight ends are you looking at?
I'm going to be real heavy on the field on Ertz this week. I think his matchup is probably the most prime matchup of all tight ends. I just hope he doesn't fail. It's just such a nice matchup, and you get that salary differentiator off of Andrews this week.
What would you consider a fail? An 11, is that a fail?
Yeah, I think anything 12 and below, because he is at 4.9K. Maybe even upwards of 15 and below for him, because he's at 4.9K. He's pushing that $5,000 threshold on DraftKings and on FanDuel. Where is he at? He's 6K on FanDuel. We need about 3x out of him to win a tournament. So 18 and below, that could be a fail for Ertz this week. But, it all ultimately depends on how the position fares, because, if Andrews gets what, 20 DraftKings points and below, that's a fail for Andrews at his salary. So even if Ertz gets 15 points, he could still, those lineups with Ertz over Andrews could succeed more. So,
wow, what are you thinking? Or actually, you gave us one. Well, let me continue. Do you have something to say, Bobby? Yeah,
I'll give my tight ends unless you want to go first, quick.
No. I mean, Burns, you had more. So after, you love Ertz, but after that, who else fits your descriptions?
Well, I know somebody put Njoku on here. I will never go with Njoku. I think the guy is just going to bust you every week.
Really?
I'm sorry.
That's been good. What are you, like Ohio biased against your local team?
Well, even though I live in Ohio and a lot of people are Browns fans, it's just not something that I like. I usually stick with their wide receivers and their running backs.
You've been all right.
But Higbee in this week, he's getting the targets, but he's just not producing. But we're going to see a Carolina team coming across the country to the Rams. I think Higbee could see he could see the end zone this week. And then my other guy that I like, not as much as the others, but I might go back to Kittle this week again. I might. I'm not saying I am. I said I might.
That's tough.
No, I'm not on Team Kittle at all.
Yeah, I love
Bobby
Kittle
Wow.
so
What do you
much.
think?
I just can't do it this week. I just like
No, I'm not on Team Kittle. He doesn't get enough volume, Burnsy. Not for 5,100. He's overpriced. That's going to the fancy supermarket in town. I'm not going to the fancy supermarket.
You like Aldi then?
$7 for the same milk they have over at the ShopRite for $4.25.
You like the Aldi brands then, right?
Yeah. I want an Aldi. We don't have that.
We got a few here. They
got that. Not if they're orange. If they got that from concentrate orange juice, I'm out. I need it. I can't do the from concentrate, bro.
I don't know. Your conversation with stats on this, on the game plan it had me rolling. I'm like, I can just see Kevin going and buy that, Whole Foods type grocery store. And then all of a sudden across the street, he's got the Aldi. And then he's got,
I'm at the Aldi.
He's got the Trader Joe's, and he's like, forget all that expensive crap. I'm just rolling Aldi.
No, I'd go to Trader Joe over Whole Foods. That is the perfect dichotomy right there. It's like Whole Foods or Trader Joe. I'm not going to Trader Joe's. Fuck Whole Foods.
That was funny. I was laughing.
I look like I need to pay $8.25 for a dozen eggs. Like, come on, I'm going to Aldi. You see how much dozen eggs cost? Have you guys gone to the supermarket? I don't go very often. I'm going to be real. I have like a 2-hour window on Tuesdays that I do things outside of DFS Army and this. It's like a 2-hour window that I try to allow myself to leave the house. And one of these past weeks, I went to the supermarket. And I was like, a dozen eggs for $8. That's a surprise. When did that happen?
Yeah, you guys had me rolling, especially with the eggs, and you were talking about organic versus non-organic eggs. I was like, oh, this is good.
It's all the same. All right, Bobby Wow. Who do you like a tight end?
Yeah,
what organic tight end are you into this week?
I do have another one like last week. Another potential dart sleeper, but we'll get that last.
Do it.
I think Higbee, 17 targets in the last 2 weeks. Can't argue with that. I love Higbee and Ertz. I'll be most invested in those two guys, no doubt about it. I love that you mentioned
Higbee.
Higbee and Ertz. Those will be my two highest exposed tight ends.
Higbee is such a tease.
I will never argue with volume under 5K.
Both of these guys are volume teases. That's the perfect way of describing them. 10 targets, 11 targets, 12 points. How do they score so low with so many targets? But yeah, I mean, if anybody's popping off, those are the two. And you're not going away from that. What Andrews, of course, you can pay up a little bit, get some Andrews exposure.
Yep, I like the Knox call. Two guys lower on the list. One, Herb Smith. I know I keep coming back to Kirk Cousins. I like Herb Smith, even as a potential one-off. He's been more and more involved, it feels like, every week. He actually, I think, dropped a touchdown pass last week. But the cheat code for me, not cheat code, the super dart play. Last week for me, it was Kate Oaten. This week for me, it is Zach Gentry. Pat Freiermuth was ruled out. Zach Gentry stepped in last week and was targeted 6 times, caught 5 passes for 43 yards. We know young QBs like targeting their tight ends. It was clear last week at Pickett was all in on Zach Gentry. So that makes me a little bit aboard the Zach Gentry train if you're looking to get crazy and punt.
I like it, Bobby. I like that Tampa Bay actually gives up a significant amount of points to the tight end position. So, yeah, that's a good punt play.
It's not every day you bust out with the name of a player that I had never heard of just before you just said his name. And this was it. This was that time. Outside of the Where My Turds At show, which we always have that. this was the first time. But yeah, okay, 5 of 6. I mean, Kate Otten, great call as well. In the nuts, by the way, for the Millie Maker. Zach Gentry, okay. Yeah, and you're right. The young quarterback wants to go to the tight end early and often. You know who else likes the tight end position? Zach Wilson.
Oh, you're on Conklin again?
Zach, no, not that tight end. His mom's friend's tight end. Sorry, different one. His mom's friends tight ends. Zach Milfson. How a godly man like BobbyWow allowed himself to be associated with this, I have no idea. I will never know.
Like when BobbyWow leaves,
like one of the greatest things
it's going to be your fault, Geek. It's going to be all because of you.
It's like, I don't know how that happened.
Out of here. No, I think this is great.
All right.
Godly man.
A godly man.
No.
I think it was fair.
You're a saint of a man.
One other name. I mean, I don't need to go this far at tight end every single week, but like, yeah, I like Dawson. Hayden Hurst is also in the mix. So I throw in Dawson Knox. I throw in Hayden Hurst a little bit. I don't love Hayden Hurst. I hate these Q tags that they all have. Makes me uncomfortable. But Hayden Hurst gets like these little spurts of targets for 30. I don't think there's a lot of upside there at all. But he probably someplace you could spend down and not destroy you. Dawson Knox, if he's fully healthy, no injury designation, he's part of the game that we all like, except the difference between him and everybody else in that game is he will be unowned and everybody else will be owned. So if just for the reason of, we talked about, BobbyWow, I talked about before, like what burns, what destroys Josh Allen. Well, one of the things is like Singletary running for touchdowns. But you know what else destroys Josh Allen's stacks? When Dawson Knox gets 2 touchdowns. And so all of your Diggs investment and all of your Gabriel Davis investment goes to the shitter. So you played the right quarterback, but hey, I stacked him with Diggs and Diggs didn't do much. Why not? Because Dawson Knox got 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
Again, clip this shit for when Dawson Knox plus 1,500 odds gets 2 touchdowns. Can you imagine? So playing this in social media. See, called it. But you know what I mean? Like, isn't that reasonable? Like,
yeah,
I played him, but that's how you get different with the chalk quarterback. No one's playing with the tight end.
I love that. It's a great call.
Kind of Hunter kind of thrown out there that, but the Tua thing is very much a concussion thing. I think one thing I can say about because you brought this up, and don't worry about this. Yeah, I know. Dawson Knox has been asked. You know how I know? I've got him on a season-long team. I'm in a lot of season-long teams, but in the one that I have him in, and the rest of it's really good. I'm 1-4. I have a 1-4 season-long because of Dawson Knox. But yeah, this is I think we can expect that anything that even sniffs a concussion is that player will not be back that week.
Yeah.
That ain't happening anymore. Like we're not going to see scenarios, especially after the guy got fired for allowing him back in. There is zero benefit if you're the team doctor or the team concussion guy of sending a guy back in. I thought that was what happened to Teddy Bridgewater, which is why I thought he'd play this week. I don't think he has a guy. I think the Teddy Bridgewater things is they don't care. They like the rookie. It's weird, but they will be punished. I already bet Minnesota. BobbyWow, I bet Minnesota. Let's talk about defense. Defense, not the easiest of positions. And philosophically, I like defenses against bad players, bad quarterbacks. So when I ran through my list of who's bad, not going to get into a Michael Jackson song. I'm just going to say who's bad. And I don't know why it's stopping me from continuing because I keep laughing in my own head about why that sounds funny. PJ Walker, but you got to pay all the way up for the Rams. You've got Kenny Pickett. Kenny throws picks it. right? Can't really pay up for the Bucks, but if you could, and Burns, I'm so curious as to like, am I allowed to pay up for these? Of course, Baltimore, because Daniel Jones loves to turn the ball over. Vikings, because Miami is rolling out some random person at quarterback, Bailey Zappi. So, Bengals against Andy Dalton, maybe? I don't know. Colts can't block anybody. So, but it was mainly these defenses against horrible opponents. And then, so, I mean, I've got a crazy one, but all of those, and then my crazy two are the Bills. No one's playing the Bills. No one's playing them, and they're cheap. And then the other one is what I call the cheapest viable. And Josiah, you will be happy with the cheapest viable.
No, I'm not happy with that. That's disrespectful at this point. Having my team be the cheapest defense is sad.
They're the cheapest tough viable defense. Oh wait, Zappy's New England. Who's Miami? Skyler.
Yes.
Am I supposed to really? Do I have to memorize the names of the rookie third stringers?
They're the same. They're literally the same. They're the same
like
person.
I don't differentiate. Or PJ Walker. Come on.
PJ's different, but those two are the same.
Hunter's with me on Bills. No one will play the Bills.
No, it's actually a really good call though, because you're actually doing a contrarian approach to that game, whereas everybody's going to be on the passing games and they'll be on the running games, but they'll not be on the defenses in those games.
So let me ask you this then: are you playing Josh Allen and the Bills defense in the same lineup?
No, I mean you ultimately could. I mean, you could and get away with it. You could actually do something similar to this. You could do a Allen, Diggs defense, and you would have the Diggs touchdowns, and if Bills have a pick six, you're looking at 20. You're looking at if all goes well, right, and we can hit our maxes with Josh Allen, Diggs in the defense, you're looking at in and around 80 to 90-ish points between the three of them.
Yeah, the cheat sheet or the chalkboard hasn't updated yet, but the Bills are looking like they're probably going to be the number one, like, most popular defense.
Really?
Yes, they will be popular.
It's because the only other viable pay down is Panthers, and no one wants to play them. So, like, that's the problem. I was like, who's the cheapest viable? It's the Panthers, right? Why? Not because the Panthers their defense is atrocious, but it's because the Rams' offensive line is so horrific and they give up so many turnovers that they're just bleeding points. But like, you're telling me people won't even go there. They're going Bills. That wasn't even a sneaky play.
I think people too are starting to get a little bit smarter and they're catching on. Like, these high total games that include a good defense, those defenses usually perform pretty well and end up in the nuts. So
you can get there.
I think people are picking up on that trend. You
can get there as defense. Burns, kind of what did the numbers say on the defenses for this week for you?
For me, I mean, I'm in 100% agreement with how you approach your logic on picking a defense. I mean, you want to target these quarterbacks or offenses that are kind of subpar. You got your Skyler, whatever the heck his name is, down in Miami. That's a good spot for the Minnesota defense. I also like this week. I like the 49ers a lot this week. I think they're prime. They had a really good week last week. It's just they were overshadowed by the top defense on the slate, which I can't remember who it was, but they actually were a really good choice when they came all the way across country to Carolina. So now they're going up against Atlanta.
It was 49ers. And 49ers can smash Atlanta.
Yeah. Let's see who else we got here. I mean, the Patriots had 2.9K. That's a good spot for them coming in to Cleveland. Brisket is not that great of a quarterback. They have Chubb, and that's about it. They go to Amari. Forget Njoku, people. Forget Njoku. I also
don't want too many players against New England in general, by the way. New England defense is a good defense.
I also like your
Lamar.
call on the Bengals. I thought the Bengals was a good spot. I don't even mind, this week the Buccaneers with the Pittsburgh with Pickens.
I'm happy. But how do you feel about paying all the way up? So my biggest concern listen, Pickett's he's a pick machine. It's in the name.
Yeah.
4 interceptions. The guy has had 3 interceptions against the Jets, only 1 against the Bills, but they were getting absolutely routed. I don't even know how he didn't have more. But Pickett's, he's a rookie, right? We want to target these guys.
Yeah, the Buccaneers could be your winning defense this week. Jamel Dean's a beast. So, I mean, they could do some pick sixes in this one.
The high chief, Jamel Dean.
Yep.
BobbyWow, remember when you asked me how Allen could fail? What if Buffalo defense scores twice?
There you go. I would love Buffalo defense with Singletary. I know we've mentioned him too, but I like that play.
Yeah. Justin likes New England. So yeah, I think there are a few choices here. Josiah, anything to add to the defense discussion?
No, I mean, my top team that I had on my cheat sheet were the Vikings as of right now, just playing against Skylar Moore. My philosophy to defense is the exact same as yours. Face bad teams, face bad players is what I try to target. So I'm right there with you guys.
All right.
There was a question. It's about tight ends and salary on DraftKings. And it says it's about 6:41 p.m. is the actual post.
Oh, I'll grab it. Bellinger?
No.
Or general?
It starts, and it says, yeah, there you go.
So paying down for RB, should we in MME also be paying down for tight end with Gentry Otten? Doesn't data show that paying down a tight end doesn't win the millie? So Otten won the millie last week.
Yeah. So Otten was the only $2,000 tight end to actually be in a winning millie maker lineup this year. It happened last week. There have been 2 $3,000 range tight ends and 3 $4,000 tight ends. The sweet spot right now is at the $6,000 mark. 50% of the winning millie maker lineups has rostered a $6,000 tight end.
It's a short, 1 year small sample size. I like to know a couple years worth of data. I feel like the sample.
I can get that for you.
Yeah, it's too small of a sample to make.
That's just this year, but
the this year information is too small of a sample for me to make actionable based decisions. Last week, we had a value tight end, like it was great, but I think a lot of what paying for I think a lot of what paying for the tight end does is like if there's value in other spots, you can put a luxury tight end in there and you can try to take a tournament down that way. So I think tight end for me is like quarterback. It's almost like you could pay up for one but not the other. It's luxury. It's rare that you should be paying up for both.
Yeah, I can actually what you want to do is you want to go when you go by prior years, you want to go by the average median salary. So in 2017, the average salary was $4.6K. 2018, the range was $4.4K. 2019, it was $4.4K. So what is happening is that all things being equal, the average amount where you're going to see, because we've only had 5 slates, by the conclusion of this current season, you're going to see that everything is going to regress to the mean, and that means it's going to regress into the 4K range.
Yeah,
you're going to see more and more.
Which is where most of the it makes sense because that's where most of the tight ends are, and when there's a competition at one spot for highest score, and I've got 15 players that or 10 players that have a reasonable chance of having a nice score, yeah, it's going to hit those high guys every once in a while. But like Andrews is completely negated when he scores 27, when some random 4K guy puts up 22 or 24. That doesn't happen every week. That's nice about the tight end spot. It doesn't happen every week. But yeah. And Jenna, yes, we love Eno. We love Eno so much. I might have to dye my hair black, some fingernail paint, and just wear some leather and go full emo for this weekend slate, just like in solidarity with Eno. I'm gonna go emo.
Emo for Eno.
For Eno.
Emo with Eno.
But yeah, Bobby and I gave 2 4K range tight ends that are top. They're the top on the slate, I would say.
I know. I love Ertz. Ertz is my favorite. I like him more than personally. I prefer Ertz to Higbee. If I didn't give my 2 cents. So here's the instructions for this weekend as we lay out everybody. Our lineup building music for this weekend. We're going all in on The Cure. It's like, come on, Eileen. That's not even The Cure.
No.
But it sounds like them. I don't know Cure songs. What's a Cure song?
Gosh,
I don't
can't
know.
remember the
oh my
name.
God, you guys are so not emo.
You're so old. No, give me like My Chemical Romance. Or,
That's emo also. That's emo.
I don't. My Chemical Romance.
I thought it was just The Cure. They originated it.
The Cure was around 35 years before we were all alive.
Yeah, I wasn't here for that. My Chemical Romance. I grew up with that.
Yeah, but Kevin, we're dealing with youngins though. Where The Cure is our age. Okay. I mean, that's our group.
Yeah. What? You're talking about the copies of The Cure? Is that what you guys
was
are
The Cure
about?
the band that played on the Titanic when it went down? I mean,
The Cure originated the black hair and the nails. All right. You know what? The Cure is your listening music for this weekend. We're gonna make lineups with emo.
Didn't The Cure do the love song?
I think it's. I was like, I can't even name a song from them. Even now, I have no idea what a Cure song. When you hear them, yeah. Little Pet Shop Boys.
Yep.
Anyway, all right.
But I do like My Chemical Romance, Bobby.
I couldn't tell. I don't now. Legit, you could play all the Chemical Romance, so I don't even think I've ever heard one.
I have a little bit of The Cure, Geek. I have to check my phone. I'm in the loop a little bit. I have a little bit of their music.
You know who they are. Every song you'll recognize. They have 20 hit songs. Like they have a lot of hit songs, not just.
I have a little bit.
Sam Brown put the one I was thinking of.
Friday, I'm in Love. There you go.
Yeah, he put that one. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, it's not the best song in fairness.
No.
I don't know if I can make
Black
lineups.
Parade, My Chemical Romance.
I'm not.
You
know what? I actually don't think I can make lineups to that shit. I'm gonna turn it off after like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
and I'll go right back to my usual.
I got to go with Helena. I like.
Helena is the go-to.
Oh man. See, now we're talking. Geek, we're rolling. The party's going here.
I don't know any of this.
Podcast should be about music advice.
Romance. I don't know that band.
So good.
Black Parade is really good by them.
It's so good.
We need a playlist. We'll get a playlist going for next week. Geek, throw a Spotify playlist
Pandora,
together. We're all throwing
Spotify
together for each other.
Remember on the thing, I was like, I don't use Pandora or Spotify. I'm on YouTube.
Rhapsody.
I'm old school.
Let's make that episode private behind the paywall so we don't get taken down.
That's true. We gotta hide that one. So, all right, that's gonna do it. NFL Week 6 tournament tactics. My favorite hour and 48 minutes of the week. Every week. Good luck this weekend, everybody. I have no doubt I will be seeing all of you guys at the top of the leaderboard. Sign up DFS Army, promo code Geek, VIP, 10% off. Do it now. Like and subscribe, notification bell, do all that shit. And then we'll see at the top of the leaderboards. Can't wait for this week, guys. Good luck, everyone. Deuces.